Hi, I'm Amy Palmer with Knit Scene Magazine. Today I'm going to talk about 3 common increases you'll find when reading a knitting pattern. So increases are used to shape fabric. As you can see behind me on Mari Chiba's sweater, the right felt sweater from Knit Scene Spring 2014, the increases here and here shape the yoke of this top-down seamless sweater. So the first technique I'm going to show you is the knit one front and back and purl one front and back. So to work this increase, you just knit to where the point you're ready to increase. And then you're going to knit the stitch as you normally would, but instead of pulling the stitch off of the left needle, you're going to take your right needle, bring it behind, and knit through the back loop. I'm going to do that again to show you. So I'm bringing the needle around behind, and you can see there's the back leg of the stitch. So I'm just going to pick that up. I'm going to wrap the yarn around like I would for a normal knit stitch. Bring it back under. And so there's 2 stitches where there was 1 stitch before, and I'm going to slide that off. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to knit into the stitch like I would normally. Wrap the yarn, bring it through. Instead of sliding the stitch off the left-hand needle, I'm going to bring it back around, pick up that back leg, and knit that stitch, creating 2 stitches from this one. The trick with knitting front and back, which is abbreviated as K1, F, and B in many patterns, is that it creates this small little purl bump, which you can see right there. You can see it slightly better down here. So this makes the front and back stitch increases better for something that's going to hide it, like ribbing or a seed stitch pattern. So I'm going to work to the end of this round, and then I'm going to show you how to do a purl one front and back. So I'm just knitting a couple stitches for a garter stitch edge, and then I'm going to purl. So it's the same sort of technique. I'm going to purl like I normally would, leave that stitch on the needle, and then again come around to the back and grabbing this left leg. For the purl version, you end up sort of twisting the stitch. So you're going to come under, come into the outside of the stitch, and then pick up that loop and purl. So again, I've got 2 stitches from the 1 stitch. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to purl like I normally would. I'm going to bring the needle behind and to the outside of the stitch so that I can lift the bar up, purl, 2 stitches from 1 stitch. And the purl one front and back does the same sort of thing where you have a little bit of a bar underneath the stitch. You can see that down here. So that's the knit one front and back. Now I'm going to show you the make ones, which are frequently abbreviated as M1. It's a letter M and a 1 followed by it. Frequently in patterns, you don't see a directionality listed with the M1, but you can do a left-leaning and a right-leaning M1. Normally, when you just see an M1, it ends up as a right-leaning make 1 increase. And to do that, you'll take your left-hand needle, you're going to pick up the bar from behind the stitch, and then you're going to knit it as it was a twisted stitch. So you're going to bring your right-hand needle over here to the outside and twist the stitch to sort of close up the gap between the stitches. If you don't twist the stitch, if you just pick this up and then knit like you would normally, you're going to end with a hole. So we're going to take our left-hand needle, pick up the bar between the stitches, and twist the stitch to make a right-leaning M1 increase. To do a left-leaning increase, you're going to take your right-hand needle, pick up the bar from back to front, place it on the left-hand needle, and then because you're already here in position to do a twisted stitch, I just knit the stitch straight from there. So it twists the stitch is leaning to the left of the stitch I just did, and you just keep on going. Now to do this on the purl side, you would work the same way. You just purl to wherever you need to increase. pick up the bar. Here you're going to want to twist it back this way and then work as you would like a purl stitch. So that creates a twist and it closes up the space. So demonstrate that one more time. You can pick up the bar with your right needle from back to left and then slip it so that it switches the direction and then purl. And you can do the opposite leaning one too. So you're gonna pick this one up from front to back. And then you're going to purl through the back loop to create the twist. And that's how you create your M1 increases. Finally, I'm going to demonstrate the right leaning and left leaning increases. These are abbreviated as RLI and LLI. To do this, I'm just going to knit. And then this is the tricky part. So to do a left leaning increase, you're going to take your right hand needle. You're going to pick up the stitch, this front leg of the stitch below the next one you would work. You're going to slip that stitch to your left hand needle, and then I knit it through the back loop just to help secure it. And then you just knit the next stitch. And so as you can see, this stitch almost sort of disappears into the fabric. It's hard to see where the other increases are. This makes it a really nice increase if you don't want to really show off where your increases are. To do a left leaning stitch, left leaning lifted increase, you're going to knit to where you need to increase, and then you're going to take the stitch below the stitch you just worked, which sounds a little tricky. So it's really simple. This is the stitch you just worked. Well, this is the new stitch. This is the stitch you just worked. This is the stitch below it. So it's the third stitch down in the column. You're going to pick up the left leg of that stitch. You're just going to knit that one. And that's it. You just increased. So again, you can see these stitches sort of meld into the fabric. To work it on the purl side, let's give myself some space. You're going to pick up, for a right leaning increase, you're going to pick up the purl bump of the stitch below the next stitch on the needle. Place that on the needle and then purl that. And then purl the next stitch. To do the left leaning increase, you're going to, it's the same sort of thing where we're working on the third stitch in the column or the stitch below the stitch you just worked is how it's commonly written. So we have the stitch I just finished, the stitch I just worked, and then the stitch below that. So I'm picking up the third stitch on the bottom, the second purl bump, because you have a purl bump here and the purl bump here. And then I'm just going to purl that stitch, and that's it, that's done. So those are 3 common increases that you'll find when working knitting patterns. Hope this helps.